In this video slash audio recording, I want to go over a few verses in this 7th chapter of the book of Jasher. The book of Jasher is mentioned twice in the Old Testament. The book of Jasher was part of the canon from back in the day. And if you want to better comprehend some of the events recorded in the Old Testament, then you need to read this book right here. Alright, so these verses here are in regards to the garments of skin that were made for Adam and his wife. They were given to them when they went out of the garden. You can read about these same garments in Genesis chapter 3 and verse 21. Most people regard these garments as being nothing special. They think they are just pieces of clothing that were given to Adam and his wife in order to cover up. No, these garments of skin are much more than that, as you're about to find out. These garments of skin were anointed by the Almighty, so that whoever put these garments on was able to subdue the land that they step on. They were also able to subdue the animals, basically take command of the earth. Anyways, yes, the garments were given to Adam and his wife originally. Then, after they died, they were given over to Enoch the prophet. And then after Enoch was taken up to heaven, he gave them to his son Methuselah. And after his son Methuselah died, they ended up in Noah's hands, and Noah had them with him in the ark. And after he left the ark, he was going to give them to his son Shem, but his other son Ham stole those garments from Noah, his dad. And he hid them from his brothers. His brothers were Shem and Japheth. So Ham got a hold of these garments. And once he had his firstborn, Cush, he gave them over to him. And Cush hid these garments from his own people, his own brothers, as it says here. Cush concealed the garments from his descendants and his brothers. Who were Cush's brothers? Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. And after Nimrod was born, Cush gave them over to Nimrod, and that's how Nimrod was able to rule after the flood. It was through these garments. Once he put these garments on, Nimrod became strong and mighty. He became a mighty hunter through these garments. He was able to build the Tower of Babel, and he was subduing a lot of the lands that were nearby his kingdom. So he was able to establish a kingdom known as Babel or Babylon. And then eventually these garments ended up in the hands of Esau, Jacob's older brother, after he killed Nimrod and took the garments from him. So yeah, these garments were able to empower whoever wore them. These garments were a source of protection from the animals of the earth and from people who were disorderly, basically. Now, of course, the descendants of Adam were not abusive of these garments, but if they fell into the wrong hands, then you would have a problem. As it says here, they fell into the hands of Ham, who was a thief and a bit of a thug, for lack of better words. And yeah, he got a hold of them, and he caused all the mess in the events that you read about in Genesis, as far as the Tower of Babel goes, Babel, Nimrod, and all that. You see, the Hamites were using the garments for wickedness. So the Almighty used Esau to transfer over the power that these garments gave the Hamites. And placed this power in the hands of another people, the Edomites. So yes, the Hamites were the first people to rule after the flood. They were a great people. They had the kingdom of Babel, they had the Tower of Babel, until Nimrod was killed by Esau. Esau got a hold of the garments, and it wasn't until many years after that the Edomites rose to power, and that is the kingdom that rules today. The Greek-Roman Empire. Here's a verse that mentions the garments that were made and given to Adam and his wife in order to empower them. You could read about these garments in the book of Genesis, chapter 3 and verse 21. Again, they weren't ordinary garments. These garments were anointed by the Almighty Himself, so that whoever put these garments on was able to subdue the lands that they walked on, as well as the animals in the earth. These garments are a source of protection against wicked individuals and against wild animals. That's why these garments were so coveted. And yeah, that's the backdrop on these garments. So I hope you found this video interesting, informative, and enlightening. Now you know how certain individuals and kingdoms were able to rise to power then as well as now. It was through the powers that these garments gave those individuals that wore them.